Hi, everybody. This is Bryan. Today I'm talking with Shyamala Prayaga, who is the Autonomous Digital Assistant Vision Lead for Ford Motor Company. Hi, Shyamala. How are you?
Hey, Paul, I'm doing good. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be in the show.
Awesome. Well, to start off with, can you tell us a little bit about your current work and what steps led up to that work?
Absolutely. So I'm the product owner here at Ford Motor Company, leading the autonomous digital assistant work. So I think about the different use cases, different features, different technologies specifically required for the autonomous digital assistant, so that we can make a more emotional connection with the users.
That's interesting. So how do you gather information, or how do you make decisions about what should be in and what should be out?
So we follow a human-centered design process. So most of our decisions are based off either some sort of co-creation workshop or some surveys or interviews, or maybe, we did some dry runs and testing. So for example, we have test vehicles running in Miami. So, those test vehicles, we would identify and capture some data out of those where users might be looking for opportunities to speak to the assistant.
Okay,
So those are the data points for us.
I see. Well, you're going to be giving a talk at the upcoming XD conference at the end of July. What's the talk going to be about?
So I am going to talk about emotionally engaged digital assistant. So it is also the topic of the book I'm releasing soon.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, this is my opinion. There are a lot of assistants out there, like Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant and all. But if you look at, and even more, like if I talk about assistants, Samsung Bixby and maybe Alibaba also has their own. And there are many more competitors. There are 10,000 plus skills across, right? But if you look at how many of those are successful, how many people use, there are very few out there which is being used. And maybe, part of the reason is because users are not able to connect with it. Maybe when you get it in first place, you will be very excited and the utility would be super high because, you are like, hey, I got this something new and I want to use it, right? But gradually what happens is the utility drops down because maybe you are bored, maybe it is not able to make the connection, you don't feel the need to do it anymore, right? And things like that. So, I believe the emotional connection is really important when it comes to, like interacting with the digital assistant. For example, I've always used Siri, and every time I use Siri, my son would be like, she's so dumb. He branded Siri even before, like anything else, although Siri has a personality, right? So that is why, like our utility with Siri is low. But when it comes to Alexa or when it comes to Google Assistant, maybe the utility is high because, like there are funny things Siri would do, or sorry, Alexa would do. For example, if you say good night, it would say good night, don't let the bed bugs bite you, right? It's trying to be witty, it's trying to be sarcastic and, like have those things. So now for those little things, I would want to interact with it more to see like what it would say the next day and the next day. So this is how, you make an engagement with the users. So what I believe is emotional engagement is really important and key to designing experiences. So my book is going to talk about, all of these things and the process and the tools and everything, how you can design the conversations to be emotionally engaged. How can you use the technologies which is available right now, like the ASR, NLP, TTS, and all of these technologies, and how you can humanize those. So it's not just about, the conversation and dialogue, but overall how the different technologies and different parts of the digital assistant can be humanized, so the user is able to have a much better connection. They feel the experience is great, and then there's more ongoing utility.
And are there scripts behind all this, or do the scripts kind of get invented on the fly as experience with the machine learning grows?
Uh, It's both. It's both. So mostly what happens, the way it works currently is you create a fixed grammar with all the possible use cases, right? You would say like, okay, if this happens, this is how the bot will respond back. If this happens, this is how it will respond back. If nothing happens, then what? So you create all of those flows, but these are pretty much straightforward kind of flows. Sometimes the prompts are designed on the fly if you are, like reaching out to a knowledge base or knowledge source or something, right? Or for example, if a user has asked what is the weather, and you find that information from somewhere, and then you got the information but it is in raw format, so you have to stitch the responses and the prompt and then have to play it back. So there are these kind of things. But then when I say humanizing, for example, text to speech, right? So when you get the response back, how does the response play back? So right now it's pretty straightforward. You can just add pauses. You can say add some pause here, or you can say like increase the intonation here. So the script, you can say what you have to do. So these are all the prompt tuning and stuffs which you can do. But then what if like it was more humanized? So if something wrong happens, it has an apologetic tone. What like if it has to greet you, maybe it has a happy tone. So if we can do that level of tuning, then it would be great. And that's what it all talks about.
Okay. So I know in my family, people have quite different emotions and emotional responses. Do you imagine that these assistants will respond to us differently, or will the assistant respond to us basically the same?
Uh, the future ones definitely would be more personalized. So based off your emotions, it would be able to taper its responses, or like enhance the experience to match up to your level of emotions.
Okay. And there've been quite a few Hollywood movies where maybe some lonely characters are actually developing an emotional bond with their artificial intelligent assistant. Do you see that happening in the future as well?
Uh, that is where the balance needs to be. So what you're talking about is maybe the movie Her, right?
For
Where
example.
this person actually creates some sort of emotional bonding, maybe because the bot was too human for it. So when we design, we definitely have to think about the uncanny valley and make sure like we are not hitting that, or like we are way below that, so that the users know they are interacting with a bot, but then they are still able to find that emotional connection. Because like if you have emotional connection, you will be interacting with it more, you would trust the system more than something very robotic. So
Well,
definitely uncanny valley is the thing.
okay. We have about a minute left, so I'm wondering if you could dream with me a little bit and looking into the future, what would be an ideal day with your assistant? Like sometime in the future, everything works, there's no limitations. What would that day with your assistant look like for you or in your imagination?
I would say, like omni-channel experience would be something. For example, ideal scenario, I'm listening to a music in my house, and then I maybe book an autonomous car, right? And then the moment I get into my autonomous car, the music continues in the car and my experience continues. So whatever I want to ask the assistant, it still knows. Maybe I'm talking to the assistant in the car and I reached my destination. So my experience now continues on my phone and I'm able to still continue it. So there are no breaks. I'm not using multiple assistants, or I don't have to think about all of these things. It's all seamless integration across, where I feel always connected with my assistant and have a seamless experience.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited about your talk. Thanks for speaking with me today about it.
Thank you so much, Paul. Pleasure is mine.